Okay. Now, this is about you and your inner self and how well you know your inner self, which is a part of you that controls, influences, dominates your relationships, your relationship to your own life, your relationship to your heart, your relationship to everybody, everything, and including yourself. Your relationship to being congruent, and it controls what happens on your sojourns. So, I'm going to expect you to write down the answers to these questions. I imagine many of you may not have had a direct conversation with your inner self, as direct, so we'll chat here. Now, identify when you met your inner self. When did you meet your inner self? Yeah, when and how did you meet your inner self? Okay. Name 3 things your inner self needs, absolutely has to have, in order to feel good every day. What's it need? What's your inner self need? Okay, next. What 3 rules your inner self expects other people to observe about you? Okay, what 3 rules? In other words, the inner self has created ways you expect other people to behave around you. Oh yeah. You can't use that tone of voice. It's too hard for me. It's totally subjective, but this is what your inner self is a control freak. And part of its behavior is that it feels it can control everybody else. And how it does that is it makes up rules like can you please be quiet for a few minutes so we can do this exercise? That would be her inner self talking to me. I need to control this space. You won't do that again. Ever. So, that would be an example. And you feel totally okay doing that. Remarkable, okay? Yeah, what 3 rules does your inner self feel totally, that it's created, totally subjective? But it feels like you can, that it can control others. Add on. If it's more than 3, add them. Go. Okay, ready? Okay, now this one. Identify 2 ways or more in which your inner self supports your addictions. Okay. The way in which, name a couple of ways in which your inner self supports your addictions. Whether the addiction is, and just for a moment, I'm going to hit a pause button so you could listen to me for a moment. A lot of things qualify as an addiction. And in addictions, for example, feeling sorry for yourself is an addiction, believe it or not. Withdrawing from your life is an addiction. There's a difference between needing to be alone, which is totally normal. Everybody needs time alone. Why people present that as if they need to make an excuse for it, or as if it's some kind of emotional anomaly, or why they need to be exhausted in order to qualify for time alone, is very strange to me. You need time alone like you need breathing space. It's abnormal to be around all that clutter with human beings 24/7. You've got to be alone. But withdrawing into yourself as a way of withdrawing into your shadow sadness, you can get addicted to that. You can get addicted to that because it's a pain that begins to feel good. Begins to actually feel good. It's the companionship of the dark part of you. And you get addicted to that because it gives you permission to do dark things. Okay? And your inner self can encourage you to do dark things. So here's another thing. What does your inner self know about you that you know it knows about you? And it may be that your inner self might know that you have secrets that have come out. And I'll give you an example. One person that I know, when he realized, he was in a workshop and when we were talking about the inner self, he realized that as that part of him emerged years ago, it was that part of him that got in touch with the reality that he had an attraction to child pornography. And it was that part of him that, quote, kept the secret. So when he was home from work, he would excuse himself and tell his wife he had a business meeting online. And this whole social media, the whole internet life made it possible for him to connect to his addiction and let his inner self access this part of himself. Now, why would we talk about it? Because in going into this world of your inner heart, this journey is the journey in which a number of people begin to discover secret parts of themselves, deeper parts of themselves, where they realize, for example, I'm really gay. I'm really this. I have an attraction to that. I really have this. They begin to unwind their deeper selves. I really don't want this. I really am this. I have deep feelings about that. The deeper, more complex part of the emotions, where in the practical heart, life is this way or that. Practical emotions are very restrictive because they're practical. When you get into your inner self and you're more expansive and you're on the journey of self-discovery and not practicality, but self-discovery. There's nothing practical about self-discovery. Now it's like, what do I feel? And how much courage do I have to discover what I feel about everything and anything? Who really am I? And when you turn around and you say to yourself, what do I feel? What am I capable of feeling? I think one of the reasons that book, Orange is the New Book. No, what is that book? No, what is that book? Blue is gray or? Gray, 50 Shades of Gray. One of the reasons that book became so popular, I knew it was a coloring book. All right, one of the reasons it became so popular was because that's exactly what I'm talking about. It was a book of the exploration of the sexually wow without practicality. It was totally impractical. It was totally sensual. It was totally off the charts. And it totally allowed someone to say, you know what? If I want this route, what would I allow myself to feel if I opened up erotica? Who would I be at the end of it? How do you know? Practical sexuality, which this is, second chakra, controls your heart totally. This is what you do, this is what you don't do. And you only have one mate. And that's that. That's it, that's it. And we take a vow to that. And if you break that vow, all hell breaks loose. But in this world, you start exploring erotica, and you think, I don't know who I would be if I shed the restrictions that the tribe had on this, and I just kind of went this way. And how do I know if you went crazy? If you went and let your heart and your senses, if you took leave of your senses, so to speak. Are you following me here? How would you know what you would come out with on the other end? You don't. You have no idea. And the fact is, come over here, this building. This is where you get to a floor and you think, I'm not sure I'm going to go up there because I'm not sure I could control what my heart would love. I'm not sure I could control what I would be attracted to. So here's where the opening of the heart becomes very frightening, because you're not sure you could control what the magnetic attraction, the law of magnetic attraction. And it's very important for you to be able to control the law of magnetic attraction. How do you do that? Come down here. By judging someone before they come close to you. By finding a flaw in someone before they come close to you. That's how you control the law of magnetic attraction. Well, that person has 2 left feet. Well, that person looks this way. Well, that person looks that way. And that's how you engage the law of magnetic attraction, so that you cut off the magnetics. Because if I judge you from afar and I think, well, I'd never wear a scarf like that around my neck, okay? That would immediately cut the connection between that person and me. I've now engaged and mutated the law of magnetic attraction. I've put a screen. This is how the 10th chakra, I'm now working with the laws. So this is where judgment comes in. This is how the heart and judgment work together. If I judge, the heart says, okay, and cuts the law from that person. So I no longer can attract you through the force of my heart. Are you with me here? Yes. You get how powerful this is, what I'm just telling you? Which means if you don't judge someone, the law of magnetic attraction is functioning through your heart. It means you look at someone without judgment, they're free to come close to you. The law is wide open. Magnetic attraction, action and reaction. You've got a soft field. It's a very different thing. Very different thing. Yum, huh? Good stuff. Okay, I'm not done with you. So, I'm back to your addictions. Your inner self will support your addictions. You could be addicted to judging, and your inner self will make up any story you want. You're not judgmental. You're just being whatever. So talk about how your inner self, the stories it makes up. These are mythologies. This is nonsense, but how does your inner self talk to you? I like doing an exercise. I like having you do exercises because it's good for you to identify an inner self. Secondly, this time of day, it's very hard to get through, and I know you're tired. And So maybe we should keep a door open for cooler air. And the last question with inner self before you do a sharing is, what are the tactics your inner self uses to control other people? Well, what does it say? How does it tell you to look, and what's it kind of tell you? Are they in your space, or does it pull out wounds? What are your tactics? I hope everybody at home is doing this exercise as well, because it's really worth it.
Can you just explain that last one?
Sure. Your inner self provides you with ways of controlling other people. It gives you excuses. It gives you tactics. It gives you things to say. It's very good at it. Here's one. If you didn't want to go out tonight, your inner self would say, tell him you got a headache. Tell him you got a headache. Tell him this, tell him that. And the reason it's your inner self, there's a, what shall I say, like a membrane. You know, do you ever clean a chicken? You know that thin membrane between the flesh and the skin? Okay, think of that membrane between your conscience and your inner self. And that membrane is like this thing, so that the inner self can tell you something, and the membrane is that thing so that you can tell yourself you're not lying. That's the purpose of the inner self. The inner self would be, tell that person you have a headache, and you'll have a dialogue, but I don't have a headache. But your inner self says, but you don't want to go. But I don't have a headache. And you'll actually have a conversation. Am I right? Okay. Who are you having a conversation with? Your inner self. Through a membrane. Through this shield. And your inner self starts rationalizing. Yes, but you know, it's okay. But they'll think I'm lying. You are lying. Shut up. Well, then don't use a headache. Well, what am I going to use? The flu? What if I run into them? Well, you're not going anywhere they're going to go, but I will, but you know I will. I'm going to see someone I know. Then put a wig on. Why don't you just tell them the truth? What's the truth? You don't want to go there. I can't do that. I'll hurt their feelings. You don't think a lie is going to hurt their feelings? You're going to have a dialogue just like that. That's what your inner self. At the end of the day, you know that the inner self is going to let you off the hook. You're going to figure out some way to tell them something that's not true. Your inner self will beat you up so much you'll lie on the bed and you'll say, I can't believe this. It will have beaten you up to a point where you think, give me that phone. And you'll call and you'll say, I just can't, I'm telling you, I'm so exhausted. I just can't come. And your inner self will have won. Have you been there? That's how it works. Yeah.
Can I just ask a question about the addiction?
Right with the microphone. But I don't know where the microphone is.
Just a question about the addictions. I'm wondering whether can unrequited love be an addiction?
Unrequited?
Yes. Yeah.
How poetic. What do you mean by that?
So, I mean, from my own experience, I observe that I'm quite often in a situation of unrequited love, as in I feel in love with a person who does not return that love. And I find that I'm like caught in that situation, experiencing a lot of pain in that situation, and perpetuating it myself by repeating the story in my mind about
So
that
you're
person.
caught in a myth.
Uh-huh.
You're caught in a myth. You're on a hamster's wheel
Yeah.
of a myth in which you really don't want to be in a relationship with someone. You love from a distance.
So you mean that I don't realize that I don't want it? Because
Right.
my mind thinks I do.
Yeah, but who cares? It's the heart that's really the pursuer.
Because my heart tells me I do.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then it's not returned.
It's not what's evident in your life. This is the difference, my darling, between what's happening but what's really going on. What you're experiencing, the physical, is whoops, the hamster's wheel. But obviously your heart is mapping a different journey. Which is, I'm sorry, but you don't want this. You don't want this. Looks like you do, smells like you do, but you don't. Looks like it, smells like it, but you don't. You don't. You don't want that kind of person, or you don't want this. So when it gets to the physical world at the practical level, we're going to blow it out of the water. There's something about making a commitment where you're phobic.
What do you mean? Sorry, that last thing that you said?
There's something about actually making a commitment with someone that you can't do. You can't handle it. Mm-hmm. You think it's them. Not being able to return it. And if you sat back, if you really could see it clearly, it's, I don't think I want this, so I keep attracting guys who can't go the distance. I'm the one who can't go the distance, or I wouldn't be attracting these guys. Stop giving them the power in your life. What is wrong with you? Stop it.
So how do I go about beginning?
Why do you want to change it?
So how do I go about
There's
stopping
something wrong
it?
with you. Why are you punishing yourself to get married? Stop it.
But how do I begin to stop it?
No, giving more love to herself, that's it's like, no. New Age remedies don't work. This is the kind of thing where you need just practical, a backbone remedy. Okay, this is like anything else. The archetype is what you got to look at your behavior and the archetypal pattern. This is where the archetypal pattern comes in. What's the archetypal pattern? The helpless princess. You're a helpless princess that attracts a limping knight. What's the matter with you? Stop attracting men where you think you can go rescue them and help them, and that's your role in their life. Stop it. Do you want them to love you or need you? Which is it? Which is it? Which is it? You answer that question. See how you don't know? Right there, and I've got you. Because that's what you don't know.
No, I feel that I want them to really know me and love me, but then there is something in there that I know I do repeat that is what you've just described.
Bingo. Because you do not trust love. You think that unless they need you, in some way they will leave you. So you find a limping, weak guy, and you think, if I can compensate for his weakness, he'll stay. Hello? Okay, that's not a relationship. That's a broken toy. So take out a want ad that says, looking for a guy, if he's a broken toy, keep going. Okay? That's how you do it. You start looking, and what's your pattern? You look at your this is what I mean by myth. You go out in the desert and you say, this is it, I'm on my sojourn. You are not allowed to date anybody. If I was your spiritual director right now, I'd say, little girl, you are not dating anyone till you're done with this journey, to this sojourn, which is the best thing that ever happened to you. And number one, you list in your journal every single one of your techniques that you start mouthing. Oh, let me help you. Oh, blah, 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 blah. How do you talk to guys when you are with them? What are the compliments that come out of your mouth? What's the nonsense you tell them? What's the stuff you don't look at? Where do you go blind? What do you overlook? Instead of sitting down and saying, can you earn a living? Do you work? Do you work? Let me see your teeth. Really, do you work? Because you don't look like a man to me. Do you work? Really? What's your income? You don't think I would talk like this? I talk like that. I talk exactly like that. Because I work. And I work hard. And I don't compensate for someone who plays. No. No. And if someone needs me to make a life decision because they're too fragile, there's the door. Partnership, yes. No. And if you don't know how to be a strong girl, don't go and find a weak man. So you want to ask how? That's how. You want to know how to do, then you need to do one more workshop with me. I'm doing one later this year in England. Lucky you. And it's in Castle Combe. I just have, 4 seats left or something. But I'm telling you, it's all about the scaffolding the soul and really getting to the point where you think, I can handle this. Okay? But you know, when you come out, you realize, oh, I can't. Yes, you can. You can become that conscious. And you realize, I'm kicking into that pattern again. I'm talking the same way. This is why you do these exercises. So you see yourself. Oh, look, that's what I do. Here I go again. Can I do this for you? Can I help you stay helpless? That must be love. Can I help you stay wounded? That must be love. No, it's not. No, it's not. If someone tried to help me stay helpless, they would be out that door.
So could I also call it an addiction, or is it something?
No, it's of course you're addicted to that.
Right.
It is a form of addiction because it's addicted to a behavioral pattern that you know that comes from the tribe. You've seen this, and you feel safe. Look. Before I keep beating up on you one more, let me share from my own. I talk this way because I know it. Okay? This isn't because I read about it. I come from a family where if you went and ate at my grandmother's house, she put the food on your plate. And a lot of it. And you had to eat all this food. And you ate till you hurt. You hurt. I mean, you hurt. It hurt. And you wanted to shove it in your purse. It hurt so much. As we once did. And this is how she made, I mean, if you can imagine cooking these days, today we would call it a capital crime of fat. She would take a chicken and she would take the pieces and she would dip it in like egg, and then she would roll it in flour that had been seasoned with salt and pepper. She fried it in bacon lard, put it in a pan, and then put a pound of melted butter on it and baked it. Oh yeah, yum. And then when you took it, it actually slid off the bone. It couldn't even cling to the bone anymore, right? Right? And And then one vegetable after another was just saturated in butter and breadcrumbs. And I mean, I come from Polish stock. And my grandparents were peasants. I mean, these were not, and that's how they cooked. And they worked hardy in a grocery store. And so they worked all day in cold temperatures. And this is how they ate. And they worked it off. I mean, they weren't like, oh no, give me some vegetables. They were like, right? So, and they worked all day long, right? So they ate like they worked all day long. And they didn't exercise. They walked. Oy. So then when I had the farm and I was growing my own food and doing all this, I had one day during a harvest, I went out and I had all this food. My God, I had all this food. I had all these vegetables, and I had 6 different gardens, and they were layered like this. And I grew all my squashes, all my pumpkins, all my acorn squash and butternut squash, and the trees were just harvesting these beautiful apples, and all the lettuces and the eggplant, and the broccoli was out, and the carrots and the onions. I mean, everything was going. And you get baskets and just boo, 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 boo. And it was so beautiful. So I came into my kitchen and I started cooking. And I made a gazpacho, and I made an eggplant lasagna, and I'm just going at it all day long. And then what? I have this kitchen full of food, so I call up my friends, and I said, you got to come here. I've been cooking all day. Cooking all day. So they come over. But I was cooking all day. I had 2 apple pies. I had squash pies, So they ate, but how much can women eat? And after all that, I said, is that all you're going to eat? Because that's what my grandmother would say. My grandmother would say, after she piled it on your plate, is that all you're going to eat? You're hurting my feelings. And then you'd have to eat again. And after that, the food was up here, and you hurt so much that you walked out of there and you forgot if the dinner was good. All you wanted to do was find a place to vomit in the alley. And I said, is that all you're going to eat? I said that to my friends. I said, I've been cooking all day, and is that all? And I heard it. I heard it come out of my mouth. I said, oh my God. Oh no, excuse me, I'll be right back. I ran to the phone and I called my mother. I called my mother, all the way in Chicago, I called my mother. And I said, oh my God, you know what I did? I did exactly what Busha did. I said, oh my God, is that all you're going to eat? And my mother said, okay. I said, Busha's in my house. I'm telling you, she's here. And my mother said, wait a minute. She said, did you put the food on their plate? I said, no, I didn't do that. She said, you're not possessed. She's just somewhere in your house. You'll be fine. Okay. So I know the influence of the family. I know how much it can possess behavior. And that influence of the habitus maximus, which begins as nurturing. You can think it's nurturing. Until it crosses over the line. And you realize you're motivated by possessing. Nurturing can become possession. When it's motivated by fear. And that's where the practical heart becomes the possessing one. And that happens here. I'm terrified of being alone. I'm getting too old. I'm getting whatever myth you tell yourself. So now you start compromising yourself. I'll say anything, do anything, to reel someone in. And I'm speaking in general to everybody. You all can relate to this in some way, shape, or form. Okay. And I really, I speak from my heart when I say to all of you, thank you for your openness and your vulnerability and sharing from the heart. From the heart. So how you break it is you spot it and you catch it. And you think, because this is what's true. If I was your spiritual director, I would say, this is what's going to happen, and this is archetypal. you will rope in the exact same person next time because you're in the pattern. And in order to break the pattern, you have to be in it again. This is archetypal. Okay? In order to break the addict, you have to be the addict. Okay? Secondly, you're going to have to encounter all the things you are most likely to say, are inclined to say in order to reprogram yourself. In order to reprogram a computer, you have to be at the computer. You have to punch in the program that you're going to reprogram. Are you with me? Okay? So you have to be in the archetype to reprogram the archetype. Which means you have to have some guy. Now, this is maybe the most challenging but delicious part. And I need you to, this is the most delicious part. Because you need someone. Is it personal or impersonal?
It feels personal, but it's
yes,
impersonal.
it's impersonal. Get it? It's impersonal. Can you get this? Because you need somebody. Because you need someone. It's impersonal. And trust me when I tell you, you're doing the same for him. This is a match made in archetypal heaven. This isn't him serving you. This is a match made in archetypal. Can you get this? Can you get this? Are you with me here, darling? Are you making this up so I'll get out of your face? Because when someone's going to reprogram an archetype, a pattern, when you decide, I have a pattern I've got to fix, I keep attracting, let me put it this way. Let's say I have a rescuer pattern. Do you know what the rescuer is? I'm always rescuing people. Are you with me? The problem with me is that I rescue them for the wrong reasons. For the wrong reasons. I rescue people hoping they'll love me. That's not the right reasons to rescue. As a result, every time I rescue them, I think they're going to love me so much, and now I'm going to have a best friend. And then maybe I'll have a husband. And then maybe I'll be so popular. The problem is, that's not how the rescue archetype should work. It should work like a lifeguard, where I sit on the side of a pool, and when someone falls in, I think they need to be rescued. Then I jump in the water, I pull them out, I wake up. And then they're fine, and I go back and sit on my perch and wait for someone else to drown. I don't wait for them to take me home and become a good friend. That's a different archetype. Are you following me? Now, one day, I realize I keep getting hurt and feeling bad because every time I rescue someone, I attach myself to them and we leave the pool area. I'm in my swimsuit. They're all dressed up and I think, how come I feel so strange out here? Because I'm not supposed to be out there. But I think they'll take care of me. And they think, I got to get this lifeguard away from me. How do I explain this lifeguard? Get away from me. And now I'm all hurt. I saved you. I saved you. How could you do this? But I saved you. When we were at the pool, you saved me. Get out of here and go back to the pool. So now I go back to the pool. And I'm feeling totally hurt and rejected. How could you do that to me? Then one day, I think, what is wrong with me? Me. Maybe I don't understand how to be a lifeguard, rescuer. I got to look it up. I'm going to study the rescuer archetype. And it says you only rescue when someone needs it. You don't push them in the pool, so you have something to do. Oh, for God's sake, I need someone to rescue. Okay. You don't grab them out and follow them home and say, aren't you going to thank me? Aren't you going to love me? No. You wait till someone needs rescuing, and it has nothing to do with you. That person didn't fall into the pool because you needed something to do on Saturday afternoon. They fell into the pool, and synchronistically, you were there. And it's your archetype that kicks in. I'll go help. When the help is delivered, I detach and I go. I'm done. No attachment. Zero. I get into trouble once I attach my personal needs to something that's totally impersonal. Follow? Follow? Okay? Once I decide my unfinished needs from childhood, my need to be loved, my need to be appreciated, I'm a lifeguard, for Christ's sake. And I'm attaching all that to this poor person who simply wanted to just not drown. But I attach all this. And I think, why don't you love me? Love you. I just wanted to get out of the water. Okay, so now I attach all this. And I can't figure out why they rejected me. So now I figure it out. But in order for me to reprogram myself, I have to go back to the pool in my lifeguard suit and go through it all again, which means I need someone to rescue. So someone's got to participate in this with me. So somebody, and it's not personal, is going to have to show up, and honestly, it'll be like this. The person playing the drum will say, you ready? All right, let's go. I'm going to jump in. You're going to rescue me. How far are we going to take this? Are you going to attach yourself to me? What are we going to do? All right, great. Got it. Let's go. Boom. Jumps in. I rescue. I rescue the person. And I will start the dialogue. Well, gee, you're a nice person, and wow, and I'll stay a little too long at the beach until I catch myself. And I'll feel like I'm doing it again. But I will need someone to play the role of the person I'm going to attach to. And this person will have to be someone who will reject me. Because that's what I need. That's what's called for. Is the rejection personal? No. It's what I need. And somehow it'll be a match. That person turn around. If we knew that person's journey, that person will say, I need a lifeguard, I need a rescuer who is going through this stage of the archetypal journey. Got one. A match. Okay, are you with me? This is how it works. So it's personal and impersonal simultaneously. Simultaneously. And if you can really get that, you realize, actually, the story of Jesus, forgive them, they don't know what they're doing. This is total setup. It's a total setup. We need players in our dramas. Everybody needs players in the dramas, so what's personal? It's not personal. And yet it's totally personal, yeah.
Is that how you bring congruence into your life?
Yes, this is part of what it is to bring congruence and getting your inner heart to function the way you want it, to operate with that sense of, now I can be a forgiving heart. I get it. I get it. Forgiveness is not about the way this part saying what you did is okay. It's got nothing to do with it. It's got to do with understanding, oh my God, I needed people to play the roles, just like I've played roles in everybody else's life. 99% of the roles you've played, you didn't even know you were playing. They're totally impersonal. If everybody held you accountable for everything you've said, as if you scripted it ahead of time, maliciously, darkly, whatever, do you realize you'd be in a closet hitting your head against the wall saying, I didn't know I was that bright, much less dark. Okay? You have served in so many roles in your life that you didn't even know about. And for someone to finally say, you are so forgiven, you didn't even know you were doing these things. Half the time, you were serving in dramas that you didn't even know you agreed to. Now go, take up your bed and walk. What a freeing thing for the heart. Yeah. Isn't that wild? Yeah. Wait a minute. Mic on the way. You guys have got to wait for that mic.
Are these stories kind of contracted in a way before we get here?
Our contracts?
Yeah, are they, agreements we make to, with people in our lives?
The way I would put it, sacred contracts, the way I think it's wise to understand is that we, and this is understanding your cosmic heart, is that before we incarnate, souls are assigned a path, but not the way your personality would understand it. Your personality looks at it like you were assigned, as if you chose anything. You didn't choose anything. You're not capable of choosing your wardrobe 90% of the time. Or choosing the menu, for God's sake. Rather, it's more of a blend of the unfoldment of opportunities and challenges that a soul is given that will become a lifetime. The timing of an incarnation is really extraordinarily specific, very specific, just like the exit point. The opportunities and the flow of our lives are influenced very strongly magnetically by 12 governing archetypes. These are the archetypes are, think of them as power stations that animate the laws of the universe for you. That animate the laws of the universe for you, through which the laws of the universe, gravity, action and reaction, sensation, vibration, cause and effect, the laws of the universe work through your archetypes for you. okay, through the stories in your archetypes. Okay, for example, here's an archetypal pattern that we all have. All of us have a child archetype. Every one of us. Every one of us has an inner child. And so in us, in that inner child, we all have, like this, let's say that this is our child archetype in your orbit. And the inner child, the moment you think about your inner child, it's a real thing. It's a real part of you. It's a real force. And it feels alive because it is an alive part of you. So it immediately connects to all the laws that manage the system that is life. And that's how you know it's a psychic, it's a part of your active order of the psyche. It's a part of your archetype. Every one of us has a saboteur. That's another one of our archetypal patterns. But then each of you has a combination of archetypes that's very unique to you. Very unique. Like I used a rescue. Not everyone has a rescuer. Some of you may, some of you certainly don't. Some of you may have a pirate. How many of you pirate things off the internet? Is it a specialty? Are you good at it? Are you good at it? All right, how many of you are really pirates, that you pirate things? Okay. I have a very good friend. Penny knows him very well. He's one of my best friends in the universe. He is a pirate. And the pirate archetype has resurfaced off Somalia, pirating things off the internet. Some people have the pirate archetype. And it is a defining part of their life. Some people have, and they're one of the archetypes that has become a very new, has returned, it's called the survivor. It's got a TV show now, and we are fascinated with how people survive in the earth. Why? Because this part of our psyche, our basic survival skills, how to survive with our hands, with our instincts, we've lost touch with that because we've become so air-headed, literally. We've become so idea-focused. We don't know how to use our hands anymore. We don't know how to use a knife anymore except in a restaurant. We don't know how to survive. If the plumbing goes bad, we just stand there. What do I do? If the cabinet falls off, we just stand there. We just stand there. If the roof falls off, we just stand there. Life is about who do we call? Because we don't know how to do anything anymore. We don't know how to grow anything, fix anything, do anything, fix our cars, do anything. How many of you can do all of that? You're very marketable, sir. Very marketable. Men like you are hard to find. Okay, but I tell you, they're rare. And in younger generations, extremely rare. Am I right, ladies? Yes. There you go. So, we now have an archetype called the survivor. It's got its own TV program. Why? We go like this. Look at that. And they're willing to kill each other as part of their survival. And we think it's entertaining. We think it's entertaining. That's part of the archetype. So your archetypal patterns have everything to do with what you will experience in this life. Yes, it does. And if you step out of your archetype, you may spot one that you like. You may think, you know what, I want to be an actress. But if you don't have the archetype, you can't animate anything about it, and nothing will happen. You can't animate the laws. You can't make a synchronistic thing happen. You can't make a cause and effect happen. You can't make anything happen because you don't have the pattern. You don't have it, and it won't happen. You can dress like an actress. You can go to Hollywood. You can knock on all the doors, and nothing will happen because you don't have the pattern. Which is why knowing your archetypes is so very important, because you can't get out of your patterns. How many of you have a sense of your archetypal patterns? How many of you have no sense whatsoever? Not at all? Zero? Have no sense at all? You don't have no idea what an archetype or pattern is? I'm sorry, gotta wait.
Not zero, but I'm not sure. I can imagine, but I'm not sure it's this one or that one.
Well, you have more than one. So you can have them
yeah,
both.
yeah. I think I've got more than 2 and 3.
You have 12.
Oh, I don't know.
You have 12.
No, I think I've got 3, but I'm not sure. Okay.
I'll have them all.
Sorry. Well,
But yeah, exactly. And here's one of the reasons, just for matters of the heart, one of the reasons that it would be helpful for people to realize archetypal patterns and how powerful they are. You know, let me show you how people play. You know, when people are dating, for example, at the practical level, two people are dating. Instinctively, you will not take out all your archetypes for a date. You will not do it. You take out your best behaved archetypes. If you think you take your addict out, if you're an addict, or your gambler, or your kleptomaniac. Oh yeah, huh? Come on. I could have a klepto in the group. Okay? Or one of your, your archetypes that are not yet refined, you leave those at home. And you go out on a date. If you're looking to find a partner, all you take on your date are the ones that are most spiffy, all polished and ready to go. And so does the person you're dating. So that as a rule, you go, the gentleman you're going with goes, and he's just brought 2 or 3 archetypes. And you've just brought 2 or 3 archetypes. So that all of you fit in one car. Okay? And then you all fit in like a booth in a restaurant. And his archetypes and your archetypes are smiling and giggling at each other, and you're just having a fine time. Your magical child's laughing with his pueriturnus, his eternal boy, thinking, isn't he cute? My God, he's a lot of fun. And your princess is enchanted with his knight, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Then you decide, it's so perfect, why don't we get married? Now it's marriage day. And you show up with all your 12. He shows up with all his 12. You've never met, they've never met. All your 12 haven't met his 12, and they're all lined up, and they spot each other for the first time, staring. You got 24 archetypes here, lined up, ready to go. But here's what's interesting. The marriage archetype belongs to survival. It does not go the distance. It doesn't go the distance. So you're walking down the aisle. You're not married yet, so the marriage archetype is hovering. You get to the, what do you call it, altar. All your 12 are back there going, hi. All his 12 are back there going, hi. And you're kind of looking each other over. And then comes the officiate of marriage. As soon as it's over, the second, the instant you are actually married, boom, the archetype descends like an Iron Maiden, locks you in. Right. You think, I can't get out of this. Speaking from personal experience, I can't get out of this. Because that would be the first thing that I would say, is how do I get out of this? And now you have 24 archetypes that have to fit in the car. And you go right back into the enclosure, the little house that you were sharing, and now it feels like this psychic space and you can't breathe. You can't breathe. You absolutely can't breathe. And you say, God, why is it so? And the first thing you think about is, I got to get my own space. You didn't feel that way before, but you do now. You do now. Now you suddenly have to, you're in here. Now you suddenly have to have your own space. Isn't that interesting? This is how real your archetypal patterns are. Wild, yeah.
Caroline, let's just say the marriage archetype is in the survival, and then in the centre, the inner self, there's now partnership.
Partnership.
Will an archetype emerge where you will have the freedom to be the teacher or the calling and have the lover in a cosmic level? Is there one now? Will one emerge?
Well, you mean the next type of archetype for partnership?
And on a cosmic level where you could be doing the work and have the freedom to do the work.
Yeah. I think the direction we're going is that the partnership archetype is totally inadequate. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's like the archetype for this inner journey. It is an archetype that's compensating for the fact that marriage isn't working. The next level is an archetype that is a much more gentle union that recognizes both a new type of practicality, which I think will be, and this is what, again, the anatomy of the soul, we have to redefine what we mean by values. We don't have any values anymore that tribes agree on, and we have to articulate what our values are. We have to kind of find, again, a kind of one of the reasons marriage became obsolete is because we have changed so much. We are the ones that make marriage obsolete. We are. Because what makes marriage work, we have evolved, most people, I should say, so many people, have evolved where our personal needs and the inner self is now so demanding that it lacks the capacity to put the other person, much less it lacks the patience, the depth, and the capacity to put the needs of the other person as a priority. It lacks the capacity to endure or to see the institution, the bond itself as a priority. And compromising the self and the needs of the self. Now women see the inner self in conflict even with motherhood. That motherhood is lessened by becoming that the inner self and the significance of the self is now threatened by motherhood. What about me? Me, while I raise children. What am I supposed to do with well, you're raising your children, but it's not enough. They're taking from me. And that's how so many women see motherhood. It's taking my value not giving. I'm not giving to my children anymore. They're stealing my vital years. You relate to that? Okay? So it's we who cannot accommodate the old demands of marriage, which simply put were two people who came together to survive, have children, tribal survival, and the union came first, and the family unit came first, and that's it. And in order to support that, they had family, they had religion, they had community. These were the units, and we have none of those anymore. We do not have those systems. For the first time in the history of us, all those systems have come down simultaneously. All of them. So in this journey of reconnecting with, of moving on, what is the next? We even have to figure out, you even have to figure out, what are my values? Instead of having someone value you as your value, you have to figure out, what the heck are my values? My life values. So that you can be in a relationship and not feel that that person can go inside and twist you like a rag doll. So that you can, one of the reasons people are commitment phobic is because they don't even know what's inside of them. So they can't be next to someone without that person twisting them this way and that, because they have nothing to stand on. They have nothing to stand on or stand for. They don't even know, because they don't know what their values are. Convenience is not a value. Screaming about your boundaries is not a value. It's simply screaming. You got to know what you value. You got to know. Children don't count. You got to know first and foremost what you are. Then you know what a relationship is all about. Then we have to figure out what we don't even know what kind of society we live in anymore. We are really floating in air, people. You don't realize till you realize how much the ground beneath our feet is gone. It is gone. It's wild. What a time. And I'll tell you, if I had one wish, I would wish to go forward 100 years and read what historians are writing about us and how we navigated this time and all the foolish choices we are making. Oh my God, the many foolish choices we are making. Denying what's happening, saying that it's not happening, and all the opportunities we have to maneuver. And the one thing you have to really, really get is that everything you do matters. Even if you don't get why. I don't care that you don't get it. You got to get it. You got to get how significant you are. And that you have to redefine your significance about more than what you do that people see you do. Who cares if people see everything you do? Most of your life is lived behind a door. You have to understand that you are significant behind a door as well as in front of it. You got to stop defining your importance by whether or not you get applause, or whether or not you're happy, or whether or not you're alone or this. You just have to understand that in every moment, everything you do makes a difference. You just got to get that. You have to get that. I won't let you out of here until you get that. How important each one of you is. Oh my God, you're so, well. Anything else? Yeah. Wait a minute. Because it's too late for me to carry on about something significant. Oh, I have it. Yeah. Okay, I have a question from someone. Yeah.
What do you think then is driving this whole obsession with people wanting to be famous and rich? That there was a recent survey when they asked kids what do they want to be, whereas before they said a policeman, fireman. The top two is I want to be famous, I want to be rich.
Television. You know what you...
But on the cosmic,
Yeah, no, I mean, look at, this is, it's so obvious. You know, it's wild. Archetypes, we'll talk archetypes for a minute. Go backwards, just for a bit. The generations post-nuclear war were the first generations in the 1950s and 60s, which would be me, and then on, to grow up with TV. That's it, that's number one. And in growing up with TV, we were the first to grow up with the archetype of the magical child. Walt Disney, and the perfect family. And not only the perfect family, we grew up with all these perfect family characters. We had a family called Donna Reed, and we had this character called Bewitched, who had a aunt who came down through a chimney, and then there was Mary Poppins, who popped in, and magical things happened. And all this magic that kids were surrounded with. So there's the magical child, which was the Taoist response to the trauma of the childhood so many kids had during the war. Okay, so now we had this magical, but now it was coming right into your homes. So now every evening we'd watch this and we would see magic just come into our homes. And we would see like, oh my God, is that the way someone's living? Someone's got a nanny that floats through the air. I just have a babysitter. And someone's got, kids don't know that there's a difference. You know, kids, this is, and then there's Walt Disney and the magical stuff. And so the magical child and the wounded child came out as a team and began to reform the consciousness of the people from the nuclear in the Western society on. We are formed by the wounded child and the magical child, the wounded child and the magical child. These are the two child images that got hold of us very young. And then it got morphed. And watch how these archetypes changed. Prior to the war, the big turning point of American civilization, of Western civilization, you had an archetype like the hobo, the bum. Well, if you look at a novel like John Steinbeck's Grapes of Wrath, that portrayed the Dust Bowl in the 1930s in America and the tragedy of that. And you see these men hopping on a train, crossing the country, starving, and the bread lines in Europe in the 30s, and just the tragedy of people being homeless. By the 1960s in the United States, being a beach bum was the in thing. So the bum had gone from one archetype way over to something you wanted. Why not working became the goal. Being unemployed and laying on the beach became the goal. Whereas before, the American goal of being industrial, working, ingenious, creative, a visionary, was exactly what defined the American character. By the 1960s, not working, getting higher than a kite, being on a beach, unemployed, and in fact being a bum became exactly what you should strive for. Exactly. And after that, as if that wasn't bad enough, that became the role model of retire, and in fact, retire younger. Stop working. Stop working became the goal. Why would you want to work at all? By God, become useless. Go get unemployed. Retire on one end. If you have money, you're not unemployed, you're retired. If you don't have money, you're unemployed. Either way, the goal is not working on one end, working as briefly as you can, becoming useless, not creative. The goals began to change as we began to think that sitting on a beach and turning off our intellect, sitting on our ass and doing nothing became a value because we threw out everything else that was a value, totally tossed it out. How did it happen? That's how it happened. We morphed into something unbelievable. Unbelievable. Little by little by little, we morphed, and then we got even worse and more greedy as we decided, you know what, while I'm on the beach, look at this thing called the computer. I can make money just doing this. Stocks. The computer generation. Now with vertical time, the idea is even faster. It's not about how long you work, it's how clever you work. Now we don't even have to work a long time, just a fast time, just a smart time, just a clever time. That's how it happens. Little by little, and not so little, and very fast. And then we do some other archetypal shifts. The demon takes over. The vampire. We introduce the vampire into the drug culture, and the zombie. We do a rebirth of them. Then we take the priest, the archetype of the one who is the shepherd, into birth and immortality. Immortality, we become phobic about aging, but we want to live a long life. Except we don't talk about it. So we decide, no, let's make the focus on making the physical body live forever. We're not interested in the soul. Let's replace the priest and swap it with the vampire. So the vampire will become the archetype of immortality. And we'll make the priest the demonic archetype. That's what we'll do. So that nobody goes near the priest, because that's the demon. And the vampire, which is the demon, becomes the romantic one of immortality. This is perfect. This is how toxic we are. We are so screwed up, it's not funny. Oh my God. We are so screwed up we can't see it for the light. And above all, don't pray, because it has nothing to do with spirituality. Nothing whatsoever. Because that's what most people believe. So I'm going to send you off. But not without a prayer, because I do believe in it. And this is my workshop. I like this one. I love this prayer. Let me not pray to be sheltered from dangers, but to be fearless in facing them. Let me not beg for the stilling of my pain, but for the heart to conquer it. Let me not crave an anxious fear to be saved, but for hope for the patience to win my freedom. Heal me, O Lord, and I shall be healed. Save me, and I shall be saved. For you are all that matters. Prophets. Okay. I shall see you in the morning.